For sure.
We'll wait for people to get in. Wait for people to get in. First ever YouTube only show. Just testing it out. Hold on. Let me tell people on Twitter. Wait. If you're in the chat, man, get hit us with a comment just so we know you're there. Yeah, let's hit us with some comments. A rare live in the off season. We usually do not do lives in the off season, but let's experiment today. Everything is pre-recorded. I hear my voice. Hop in the chat with us. YouTube only. There we go. There we go.
We got comments. We got comments.
This is gonna be the Rush show today. not that he's gonna talk any less than he already.
You know,
can redo the Final Four. No, buddy. All right, hold on. Give it a minute. Give it a minute. Give it a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I'm posting about it too, real quick.
What's up, Rob? How you doing, Rob? What's up, Davis? What's up, Brent? How you doing?
All right.
Let's get started. Let me play this intro.
The three of you guys, man, thank you for what you guys do, and appreciate you guys having me on.
We were trying not to score and everything. We got about 33s or something.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt that. We kind of feed off that energy.
This place is amazing. Like I really love Duke, and I love the atmosphere I'm in here.
Mark Williams, beast mode. Paolo first half, he had the cramping stuff. Fair enough. Beast mode.
What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? The Crazy Cast is back. It's a big week. We're giving y'all 2 episodes this week. 2 episodes. This is the first. Here with my guy Russ. If you're on YouTube watching, yes, Russ is gonna be big screen today. This is the Russ show. This is all Russ today.
Oh God.
Fresh off of his trip from Coach K Academy in Durham. But yes, before we get started, as I said, we'll have 2 episodes this week. So stay tuned with us. If you're listening on audio, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe as well, but also like and push us as well. We appreciate all your support. The second episode this week, we got a special guest on. No hints, but you could probably already figure it out. But big week ahead of us. So let's get into the big news this weekend. They allowed Russ back on campus for some reason. Russ returned home to Durham, to the campus that groomed. I didn't want to say groomed, matured him. So we got a lot to talk about. Your weekend,
man. First of all, I met Mark at the the thing. I met a lot of people who listened to the show who were there. And so everybody who I met who came up and said hello, I very, very much appreciate you all. It's good getting to, see Crazy Cast fans in person, face to face.
Wait, you met Mark?
Yeah.
Oh,
There
wow.
were a few people there who I met. I don't want to go through the list in case I forget anybody, but it was a number of people. My friend was very, very impressed. Like right when I arrived, a couple of people were immediately like, "Oh, it's Russ from Crazy Cast!" Right, right away. He was blown away. But the event itself, look, if you're somebody who listens to us for our very even-keeled, trying to remain extremely objective commentary about Duke, this isn't going to be one of those shows. I mean, it was such a great week. It's just going to be a lot of enthusiasm for what they put together. For those of you that don't know, who don't follow me on Twitter, Duke Better, or on Instagram, Russell H. Film, I was at K Academy this past week. I was not a player. My friend Dan was a player. He invited me along. And because I have the luxury of getting to be able to work from anywhere, right? I'm a writer, so I can just bring my laptop anywhere I go. So I was like, hey, how often do you get to do this? People who are longtime listeners of the show know that it's been a dream of mine to go to K Academy as an attendee. It's expensive. It's definitely a pricey sort of luxury event. Worth every penny, but I was able to go as my friends plus one, as it were, which means I didn't have to pay the tuition to K Academy in order to attend, which was great. I am gonna save my pennies. Oh, get that off the screen. Get that off the screen.
People gotta see it.
But I'm gonna try to save my pennies to be a player in the future because, man, it is worth every penny if you're somebody with the privilege of being able to afford it. There's a reason why there are so many people who go year after year after year. There are some guys there who have been going for 21, 22 years. I mean, just since the beginning, since the foundation of the thing, every single year they come back. And it's because it's just an unbelievably run event. I feel like I've gone to enough events as a writer and as a teacher and as the number of jobs I've had over the years where there's hiccups everywhere. This was a hiccupless event. This was unreal, the way that it was put together and the love and attention that it was given by not just the staff, but everybody who was working at the managers, the students who were helping out. So everybody that made it such an awesome event, thank you so much. And my friend Dan and, a number of the other actual players at K Academy with whom I spoke, they raved about the stuff that I wasn't able to go to. I mean, you get to do film session with John, right? They watch the film and sort of break down, a lot of the stuff that you don't really get to see live and in person, right? They get to observe coaching firsthand from this staff. They get to bond as a team with these other players. So again, that's something that I'm really, really hungry to do in the future. And even the guys who are there who get injured, they all still have a blast and they come back. So, I mean, it's really, really cool. And in terms of the people who are there, I mean, obviously Coach K is there. The coaching staff was there. Everyone on next year's team, with the exception of Dame, I think that everybody was there from what memory serves. A lot of former players were there. I think most of the active NBA players weren't, but Grayson was there, and there were a number of people who swung through. So I didn't necessarily get to see everybody who was there. I didn't get to meet everybody. But I got to meet a lot of people. I got to have some great conversations. And, one of the things that Coach K says on the first day is, when you go to K Academy, you're just a guy, right? A guy or a gal who's there specifically just to hang out, to learn, to play basketball, to have a great time. And so, I got to, close down the bar with Jay Gold one night, right? I got to have a long talk with Marquise Bolden and his manager about what it's like, playing overseas. I got to speak at length with my boy Spin Hub about, some of, he's from LA and I worked a lot at the high school where he went. So we had a lot of commonality, just got in touch that way. A bunch of the staff, a bunch of the players, just getting to
Yeah.
pick their brains. I mean, like it's just, if you're a basketball nerd, and in particular Duke basketball nerd, it's just a wealth of knowledge and experience that you get to that you get access to, and they're all very willing to share. So
Yeah. So let's tap into that. Let's
yeah.
some of the names that you mentioned, obviously older players. You talk to any of the I know who you talk to. I can't act like I don't know who you talk to. Well, I'm just teeing you up. Some of the current guys, or whether it's staff or players, who are some of the guys that you really enjoy talking to, or any nuggets that you got from talking to some of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, some of the stuff that I want to talk about the Duke basketball focus stuff, right? But like a lot of, again, getting to drink with Jay Gold and some of the other guys, and like getting to ask like parenting advice from like Carlos Boozer, and getting to sort of tell stories. I had a fun experience out here with Duhan in LA years ago, and I got to tell him about it, and we got to sort of swap some stories that way. I mean, like, so I'm kind of going to bypass a lot of that stuff just because it's a lot of just personal interaction stuff, so that I can focus on what I think the people here really want to hear about, which is the team and the program. But that's the stuff that I'm really going to cherish. A lot of those memories, and again, a lot of that I'm just going to put in the old memory banks. But they're all just great guys. In terms of the program, I mean, it's just really cool getting to hear from in person, in a very casual environment, people on the staff and the players about what Duke's approach is to the game of basketball, what Shire's approach and this program's approach is to the game of basketball, and I was left so encouraged. I think there are a lot of schools that maybe aren't very forward thinking or analytically savvy, or maybe looking out for the players' best interests. Whereas I had the privilege of getting to talk with Rachel Baker a little bit, and she, as I was talking to her and Spencer Hubbard about getting players to come, getting players to stay multiple years. Rachel was also quick to point out and making sure that the players who come here with, the intentions of pursuing a professional career, leave when they need to leave in order to pursue those professional careers in a successful and timely manner. We're not going to be, and I got to like make a little jab. I was like, we're not going to be like certain schools who just, hang on to those players for years and years, and let the draft stock twirl down the toilet.
Caleb Love.
That's I wasn't naming anybody, but there are schools out there that are like that, and I think in that conversation people had some ideas. But Duke is not one of those. Again, very forward thinking. I know, Zion, I know you're not a huge analytics guy in terms of just getting focused in on them. But I think that the school does a really nice job of making sure that everything is considered. Nothing is left off the table. Everything is analyzed and observed and sort of put into the old brain trust in order to figure out, how to pursue players, what types of players to pursue, both in the portal and in high school. This was obviously something we talked about on the last podcast that then, I got to speak about in person with a number of people. But, Duke has the privilege of we will never lack for talent, so very first and foremost, they are looking at fit. They are looking at, we want this type of player, right? Which is the correct approach. It's what we spoke about on the last show. It's, I think, what anyone with a brain in their head, realizes. But I talked with a number of people on staff who I was like, yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the portal season, when everyone else makes signings in the first week, fans get a little anxious, and they all sort of smiled and shrugged, and they're like, we've got a plan, man. Like they know what they're doing, and they had the same plan last year, and it worked out beautifully, right? So I think that there's a lot to be trusted there. I just every time I would talk to somebody, it was clear that they weren't just saying things are this way because John said so or because it's the right thing. Like they had reasons for their actions and for their choices. And again, hopefully we'll get to talk to some players and coaches or whatever in the near future, a number of whom expressed interest in being on the show. And, I think we're going to, if we have the pleasure of getting to speak with some of these people, I think people will be really excited by the fact that these people have reasoning. Like there's justification, there's evidence that they're using, which I think is really cool. And furthermore, the joy from the players, I think, is really conveyed here. I didn't get to meet Dame, but I heard from multiple people, the thing that he said in his comment about how Duke was, a dream school of his. I don't think that was lip service. I know it's very easy to, look at look at some of the circumstances around Duke's roster movement and some of the other schools that were pursuing him and go, oh, well, okay, blah, blah, blah. But from what I could gather, everyone was kind of like, no, this dude loves Duke. And, things got complicated and interesting, but it was never like Duke was always his preference, and I think most of the guys, Sebastian, another clear example of this. We saw that Duke MBB posted like the pictures of him from when he was much younger, talking about how Duke was his dream school. Most of the dudes here are exactly in that same camp. So everybody there just has such enthusiasm for the university and the program and for the people within it. I got to talk to Coach Brads. I got to talk to J-Rob. I got Tyler Thornton was there. So like right as they announced that he was going to be the new coach, I got to talk to him like an hour later, and
Jeez.
say, hey,
Dang.
like it's going to be. What were you saying?
Well, give us something. What'd you talk to Coach Thornton about?
It was the beginning of a big dinner, so we only got to speak for a few minutes. A lot of it was just me telling him about the podcast and how much we'd like to have him on. But it was, it's clearly been in the works, in terms of, I think anyone who knew when Thornton was at school, like knew that coaching was in his future. Right. So I think that this was something that he's been really wanting to do. He's very excited to be moving back. Obviously, me coming from having lived in DC for a few years, making sure that there is somebody with deep connections to the DMV area, because it's just a hotbed of recruiting always and forever. It's just always a great idea. And, look, I realize it's a small sample and it's a weird situation, but at K Academy, his team ran to the finals as like a lower seed. I watched his team over the course of K Academy. His team should not have gone to the finals in terms of sheer talent. It shouldn't have. It clearly overperformed. Like he knew what he was doing in terms of rotations, in terms of getting the best out of his guys. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like if you're great at a sort of 1 week fantasy camp, that means you're an elite coach or anything.
You were getting to that.
No. But what I'm trying to say is like, it's cool getting to see in person and like right behind the bench, right? Like you can hear everything they're saying. You're right in the thick of it. You can tell which guys are just sort of like yelling, right, and which guys are making some heady decisions out there. So hopefully that sort of thing translates. But either way, I think bare minimum, he's a guy who again came to Duke, like I think knowing that he was going to be a coach one day. So and this, I'd be interested in speaking to some of the people higher up, but like this is a competitive place for coaches. Like coaches want to come here, so for Duke to choose guys like Brad's, guys like Thornton, I mean, they have their pick of the litter. And so I think they're choosing people very intentionally. I know that the Brad's podcast, just dropped on the Spotify or whatever.
Oh, did
But
it?
yeah, apparently. Somebody
Oh,
told me
wow.
this literally 30 minutes ago. But so I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it yet, but I got to speak with him a little bit and sort of ask, like, well, what's, first of all, I asked why his podcast hadn't dropped yet. And I was like, like, what's, like, what do you bring to the table, right? For the fans who don't know you, who don't know. I remember watching him from when he was at Belmont, and he was really, really exciting as a player. I think he's like a 2-time OVC Player of the Year. I was like, but as a coach, what's your specialty, right? And he came from the Jazz, which was a very, very young team, and he was very player development focused. And unsurprisingly, Duke's got a very young team this year, and probably will continue to focus on finding guys in high school who are very young. So if we're bringing in, young coaches, forward-thinking coaches with a specialty in developing young players, I mean, that's so smart. That's just very, very smart basketball. Really cool thinking, right? It's not just, hey, here's a big name from Duke's past who, is going to be a sexy signing for the fans. It's like, who's going to make these guys better? And again, in just getting some short interactions with him, I was left very encouraged by that, obviously. So in terms of like coaches and in terms of the staff, I mean, I'm very, very impressed, and could listen to them obviously for hours talk about, what their mindset is, what their approach is, how they think about the game, because that's the sort of thing that I think is really interesting, especially in this new era of college basketball.
Yeah, and you also got a chance to talk to some of the guys on the team, returning and new. Anything to take away? I know you talked to Malik, Caleb.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I spoke with Malik. I asked him how his shoulder was. Right, I wanted to sort of suss that out a little bit. I mean, he seems good. He's not in a brace or anything. Clearly moving around all right. I know he's rehabbing right now. He had surgery. He said he should be cleared by end of the summer to get back into sort of full swing of things. Said he has no concern about being ready for the very beginning of the new year. So that's great, right? Like that's exactly what we need. That way there's not too much reliance on somebody like Pat to play 35 minutes or to throw Cam in for big minutes at the 5. Having Malik and Pat at the 5 is just such a luxury. So very, very encouraged to hear that he's not really going to miss an exorbitant amount of time. And it'd be one thing if he was a freshman missing a bunch of time, but he's a guy who's been around for a while. He knows exactly what kind of player he is and how to play. So again, I think that's great news for Duke. I got to speak with Caleb for a while just in terms of his I was with a buddy who was asking him a lot of questions about his jumper and how to approach offense and what Caleb's approach is in terms of what kind of player do you like to be, what kind, when you're watching NBA players, which players do you try to go, oh, this is the sort of guy that I would hopefully play this kind of role for Duke. And Caleb mentioned, people like, Jalen Brunson, obviously, guys like, Shea. I mean, that's obviously a sexy one since he's the MVP, but I think guys who get downhill, guys who certainly are looking to score in a notable way, but not in a way that is at the expense of his teammates. I think I think it's very easy for any player to just be like, oh, I'm going to be Steph Curry, or I'm going to be Kyrie, or I'm going to be right. He seemed to have a very clear idea of this is the sort of role that I think I was built to play. And I think he was right about that. And in terms of, his jumper, somebody was asking for, when you miss a shot, what do you think, right? Like, and when like your mentality. And Caleb, very much like the first day Coach K talked about, the philosophy of next play, because when you go to K Academy, it's a bunch of washed old dudes. If you miss a jump shot, a lot of these old dudes just like pound their foreheads and they get mad at themselves and whatever. And K was like, you cannot do that, or you're cooked, right? Caleb's the same way, and I think that that's the right mentality for a guy who came off a year where he had some struggles. I think that's a big reason probably why he had that surge late in the season in terms of playing better, in terms of working his way into a bigger part of the rotation, obviously in line for a bigger part of the rotation junior year. And he didn't play in the scrimmage that I saw, that I was watching, because he had like just finished coaching like the second the scrimmage was starting, so he didn't get to warm up or anything. So he didn't play, but he had played the day before, and I heard from some of the people who watched and some of the players that he's looking real good. So and certainly I watched him shooting around a bunch, and like I don't think he's completely retooling his shooting stroke or anything. It didn't look like radically different or anything, but they were going in, and he's again a real confident and clever dude who I think thinks about the game the right way. So I'm very optimistic in terms of bare minimum the leadership that a guy like that is going to be able to provide on this team. I mean, he's got the right mentality for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a year 3. We have the track record of a year 3 guy breaking out. So, hopefully Caleb is the same way. That's a good nugget. We got a little Russ Woj nugget in there, or say Psalms, because Woj is retired. Malik, I didn't even know he had surgery. Did he? Was that public? Well, I knew, but did he have public? Was that public information?
I don't know. I don't know the specific surgery. I just said, what'd you have to do? And he was just like, yeah, I had surgery, but I'm working. I'm rehabbing now, and we're working through it.
Yeah, happy. He's getting well. I do have a comment to address first before we jump into your scrimmage. Marshall, absolutely not. Russ cannot beat me one-on-one. That's not going. We should talk. We should talk with our future guest about that. About that. What he thinks about that. Did you shoot a jumper this weekend? You shot some hoops.
Oh, I shot some jumpers. I had a jump shooting contest with my friend. My friend Dan won the best field goal percentage award for the entire week. And I had a jump shooting contest with him, and I won. So take that for what you will.
Okay. We'll see.
Take that for what you will.
We're gonna set it up. We're gonna set up a crazy cast. It's gonna be an IRL. We're gonna get the cameras there, one-on-one. When me and Russ meet up, we got to meet somewhere because he's on the West Coast.
I think there's a pretty good chance that it depends on Zion's height. I've never met.
How
Zion
tall are
in person.
you?
I don't know how tall he is. I'm 5'11".
Yeah, I'm 5'9", 5'10". So.
Yeah, I mean, I try to tell the guys. So the way that they do a lot of the drafting at K Academy is they do like 3-on-3 for the guys who are like first or second year players. They do some 3-on-3 so that all of the coaches can see see how the guys play. And 3-on-3 is not like, I'm not a self creator. I'm a pure 3-and-D guy. So 3-on-3 would not be as much my game as 5-on-5 would, and certainly I think that translates down to 1-on-1. So if Zion's got like some slick handles, then Zion probably could take me 1-on-1. But in terms of like, but if he wants to play horse with me, I would cook Zion on horse. That I'm very confident. Yeah, I'm very confident.
Yeah, I do got some handles. I grew up, New York. You have to learn how to dribble the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So you could probably take me 1-on-1, but if we were 5-on-5 and you were part of a team construct and so was I feel very good that I would help my team win.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But speaking of,
I'm the Matt Jones of K.
Oh, that's not the greatest compare, but okay, yeah, sure. But speaking of 5-on-5, you got to witness some hoops this weekend from the guys, current and past. So where you want to begin?
Yeah,
Where you
man.
want to begin with the old head, the OGs?
Let's just begin with the
Okay.
freshmen. So what I saw was not like one game. And they kind of, I think they did this the day before too. They were bringing in various rotations between the players this year and some of the older guys who are around. So like DJ Stewart, Wendell Moore, Jay Gold, Spenhub was out there hooping. And then we had in what I was watching, it was Cam, Caden, Kamania, Sebastian
Oh, we got to
Wilkins,
correct you. Got to correct you.
uh,
How many? How many?
Hymenia.
No K.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, good to know. He is actually one of like I think two players that I didn't get to meet from this current year's team. So good to know.
Yeah,
Hymenia?
how many? I know the K is
Okay.
silent.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, I got to watch them. Evans was out there, Harris was out there. The practice, but like Iffy was out there, Jack Scott was out there. Yeah, look, Cam Boozer is exactly what you expect. I don't think anyone will be too surprised to hear that he looked quite good out there. He made some threes, he made some nice passes. In this construct, the way they were doing it, rotating out all of these, various lineups and switching them around, I thought that, and like maybe there was some rhyme and reason to like they might have divvied it up to like teams of 8 and 8, and then they were like just switching out a lot. It was hard to keep track because they were switching every few minutes, and I was like half watching my friend's team and like doing this too. So, but I was trying to watch whenever the players were actually running instead of just shooting around. Cam looked great. Caden, I thought he did not look sped up. I thought he looked really smooth out there. This is a word I'm going to use a couple times, but he looked he looked in control. Sort of got to some places for some short mid ranges, passed the ball well. I think one of the biggest things I think I could say about most of these players is how good the ball movement was. Also, almost everybody, I feel like nearly everybody was bringing the ball up at one time or another. It did not seem like let's always give the ball to this person. Again, that might just be part and parcel of how they were scrimmaging. It wasn't like they were running a bunch of set plays or whatever. They were just, they were hooping, right? But I think you could see out there how good they were and how good the ball movement was. Hymenia, I think, was I was most impressed by his passing. I get the people who want to make like a Khan-esque comparison. He's not as like sturdy as Khan, right? I don't know what his measurables are off the top, but he looks lean, right? Whereas
Russ,
Khan,
we can say we know why they're comparing him to Khan.
well, they're white, but also he passes the ball a lot and he passes the ball well. And if anything, I would say that like if I was to be critical of anything, he looked like he was trying to make some things happen that weren't there sometimes. But again, he's a freshman. They're just scrimmaging, right? He's probably just trying to get a feel for his teammates. But like he's trying to make some real creative passes out there. Like these are not just like set a screen and like simple pick and roll stuff. He's trying to show some things, which I think is very exciting. I was very, very impressed by Wilkins. He passes the eye test, man. I know people are like, well, how do we like divvy up minutes this year? How does it all work out? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Again, this was just scrimmaging, but if you're just like watching the guy play, he passes the eye test, and certainly like the shot, which again I've seen some like media people be like, oh, he doesn't have the this or that yet as a reclass guy or whatever. He took some threes. They looked real smooth. They looked real nice. Again, did not seem sped up at all. I don't know. If you wanted to tell me that he plays more than people expect this year, it wouldn't blow me away.
What stood out about his game to you the most?
I mean, the fact that he has a good-looking jumper, I think, is great. He, they weren't doing much like high-flying physical stuff out
Mm.
there, but for a guy of his height, he seems to move like real well. He shot the ball well. Seemed to not be getting caught out of space. Again, they weren't really like running a bunch of plays or whatever, or not like when I say that, I don't mean like they were doing, pick and roll. They were flashing, they were cutting, like they were doing like not complicated shit is what I'm
Mm.
saying, right? Like they were out there just trying to make things happen using their pedigree and their knowledge of the game and getting familiar with one another, presumably. Um, he seems like he fits. He's got to be what 6'8". I don't even have his measurables. I I told him, in person that, I've basically seen none of his tape because normally I only look at like high school
Mm.
seniors. There's just too much to track all the players. So I never know about like juniors and whatever. So, I didn't know much about him until I watched him play. I have a friend who lives in the DMV area who works for 247 now, I believe. And he said, like, if Wilkins had stayed in and been a class of 2026 guy, they thought he was going to be a top 15 guy, maybe top 10 guy, right? A guy who, like, realistically is someone who could play right away this year. So again, I mean, I think the beauty of bringing in somebody like that is it gives options. I mean,
Yeah.
if the older guys are all ready to contribute big minutes, maybe he doesn't play as much, but he's definitely going to be a guy I would think would compete and in practice is going to like try to show that he belongs and could get out on the court right away. Definitely seems like he has two-way potential. Again, I haven't watched much of his tape, but he's got like the body, he's got the way he moves, and the jumper looked good from what I saw. So, you know, take that for what you will. It could translate to nothing right away. Again, he's a freshman, reclass at that, but I think there's maybe more meat on that bone than like people when they hear reclass guy late in the process, they might just think, oh, okay, he's just end of bench guy. He might not be that, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I think in terms of the returning guys, Slim. Man, there are a few guys. Slim was also one of my friend Dan's coaches, so it was fun getting to sort of watch him get very, very enthused about my buddy's team and get really involved. Slim in the scrimmage was looking to score.
What's new?
Slim, Slim is the guy who wants to score. Again, I don't know how what I watched was constructed, but Cam and Slim were basically never on the same team from what I could tell. And like they ran at one point. I wrote it down because I I was a bit blown away. They ran at one point. There was a lineup of DJ Stewart, Wendell Moore, Jay Gold, Trevor Keels, and Cam Boozer on one team, right? So that's a very loaded roster, right? Versus Slim, Iffy, Jack Scott, Cam Sheffield, and Spenhub.
Oh, Slim got to take all the shots.
Well, but like he was also playing with Hamania at times, and like there were other rotations there, but I didn't notice in terms of like which team was scoring way more or doing way more or way less. You would think hearing those lineups on paper that one of the lineups would have a notable plus minus there, right? Like, and from what I could tell, it wasn't the case. One, because Slim is like just taking it right, and he took it to the rack a lot too. He was not just pulling up; like he was clearly trying to like go inside, work on finishing there. That's clearly got to be at the top of what he's working on this summer because I mean, he has some pull-ups too. He made some beautiful like fadeaway contested pull-ups, but he was really trying to finish at the rack. You can't get a high. You can't score if you pass the ball, right? And so my man is out there like looking to score. But I'll tell you what, the other reason that team was doing real well. I think people think Spin Hub is just like a meme, right? Because he was like just so much shorter than. that he was so much shorter than everybody else on the team last year and whatever, right? He's like the fan favorite. Spin Hub is incredible. Like, he picked Cam Boozer's pocket multiple times. He was like finishing like at the rim over, like people who are much bigger than him. He was, hitting threes. He's just one of these dudes. And I talked to multiple players about him too. I was like, man, Spin Hub is giving buckets. And every single person that you talk to is like, he pushes you in practice because he's skilled. Like, he's obviously not big, which is but if he was 6'2", like, oh my, with that skill set, he would be incredible. Right. Like, so it's just so funny watching in a setup like this. Spin Hub is just like going to work in a situation like this. Which is really, really cool to see. Again, as somebody who cheered all the time, and I had my Spin Hub shirt with me. I got a good picture of me with Spin Hub while I was wearing the shirt. He said he was very touched by it and loves the fan reaction. But yeah, very, very cool to watch those lineups play. And like, again, Malik didn't play. Pat didn't play in what I was watching either. He said he just like turned his ankle a little bit, that it wasn't actually hurt, that if they were like playing or even having real practice, that he would be practicing, but because it was just like scrimmage, so it's like not even anything to worry about in the short term. But it just meant that
Don't scare people. Don't scare people, Russ.
I'm
Don't
just
scare
saying
people.
when people hear like, oh, he didn't play, he was just like taking a day off. I think he played the day before, if I remember correctly, but because of that, it was mostly like Iffy and Cam Boozer, inside. And again, like, I think Iffy seems like a guy who's going to be a really, really good practice player. He's strong. Like, that was the main thing that struck me. He was like, he's big and strong, hard to like, and he was taking it into Cam Boozer's chest. Like, he was like, he's got a little bit of like height on him, and I think he's older than Cam by a couple of years, right? So
sure.
he, again, this is exactly the sort of guy that you want on this roster, somebody who like in practice is gonna push you some, right? Not a guy I expect to like get real minutes, in games, but like somebody who's gonna make your team better. That's the kind of play that I saw, and again, like the short 30 to 45 minutes I was watching. But and I haven't mentioned Darren Harris. He made some baskets, right? He brought the ball up a little bit some. I got to talk with him some. I expect more from him this year. He's definitely going to have ample opportunity. Yeah, man, I'm just, more than anything throughout all of this, everything that I got to watch, everything that I got to see, left me feeling very, very confident and enthusiastic about this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, you speaking of Wilkins and Isaiah taking the ball to the rim, I think people got something to be excited if that's really going to be reflected this season. Obviously, so early. Even it with it being June, the season still just ended a month and some change ago.
That's the other thing, for sure. Like, they've got so much to build still. That's kind of why seeing things that make me enthusiastic early on, and they're still not going to play for several months, right? Like, that's they've got so much to grow still. So if these guys already look a certain way now, and they've like Wilkins committed a week ago, so this might have been some of the first he was running with these guys at all, right, outside of maybe like some stuff in his visit. So yeah, I mean, it's just very, very exciting. I think there's just an abundance of riches, a wealth of talent and depth. Everybody's big. Everybody's strong. Everybody's got skill. Everybody was passing the ball. There didn't seem to be a lot of guys who like couldn't dribble the ball or anything. And again, Slim is just electric, man. Like, he is. If you wanted to like just up whatever your like hype train analysis is on who he could be next season, I would not dispute it. I'd be right there with you. I think he realizes that this coming season is an ample opportunity for him to be a big winner, for him to like really show everybody what he's got. I don't think he's going to take that lightly. Yeah, you know Cooper. I mean, dude, even if there was, I think he's getting his looks this year. I think he's not. I think he's working this summer on everything that he knows he's got to work on to become an NBA, a big NBA type prospect. How to help the team win this year. Obviously, this team is going to need guys who are experienced scorers. With we'll be giving some good minutes to 3, maybe even 4, 5 freshmen, right? We need somebody like Evans who is like, hey, give him the ball and let him cook. When a play blows up and we need to just like give the ball to a guy with 8 seconds left on the shot clock to figure out how to, put some points on the board before getting back on defense. He's definitely a guy who can do that. I feel all the confidence in the world that he's one of these guys. So, and he's working on bulking up this summer too, for sure. He's still got his name's still Slim, right? So it's not like he's not gonna show up looking like Chris Hemsworth or anything, but he's gonna put on some muscle before next season. I feel very confident in that.
Oh yeah, I mean they'll be back on campus very soon. Coach Ware will get them right,
Sure.
or maybe Coach Ware. I don't know. We'll see. They got 2 months until 2 months of summer workouts, so I think they'll look very different from this week you saw them.
100%.
We definitely appreciate you giving us the lowdown and the rundown. Anything else you forget from your K Academy?
I got to watch some run with Coach Shire playing with Coach Carrawell and Coach Brads and Trevor Keels and J Rob and like Jace McCain was there, and some guys like this. Yeah, I mean it's really fun. Look, I think people talk about I don't know like exactly how to put this. I'm going to phrase this like as I go along here. I feel like people make a big deal about the differences between K and Shire, right? But I think that there's also a lot of good, positive similarity in terms of sheer competitive fight. Like if Shire like misses a shot, he's not like just like you can see like he's got the look in his face. Like he's doing some like random fours with some of the other coaches. He's not out there to lose. He's there to put it on some dudes. I mean, like I feel like that sort of thing never goes away. And I mean, like when you're at K Academy, Coach K is sitting in Cameron watching every game. And he's got like the box scores in front of it, and he's got like who's playing and the stats and whatever, and you can see the wheels turning, right? Like you can see that the man cannot turn it off, right? Like that's what makes a hyper competitive winner, right? Like so. Look, every single guy who played D1 has some part of that in them, right? Otherwise, you don't get to be that good. Right. Like you don't win a national title because you are willy-nilly about the game, right? So maybe that's not like some wild revelation or anything, but when you think about how young he is, how forward thinking he and his staff are about the game, and then you watch him playing and you see how badly he wants to win every single like small competitive like outing that he has, no matter what it is. I don't know. You see the fire in the guy's eyes, man. So like I am very, very excited to again continue to see as he gets older and keeps learning. And as the staff and Rachel and everybody else as the game around them continues to shift, how they will shift with it. There's the Trilly Donovan Discord. There's a guy in there who everybody knows. Everyone's gonna know what I'm talking about. Who drives me crazy because he's always talking about like how much NIL money do we have versus other people, and watching what other people do, and how does that pertain to Duke, and and I couldn't be less concerned about like the amount of money, like what's the exact amount of money that Duke has or what they spend or whatever. I couldn't be less concerned because I feel very confident that A, there will always be enough money, and B, that this staff isn't going to waste money. Like, they know exactly how to use it. They know exactly how to like make the pieces fit together. How to get the most out of every of the ample amount of bucks that they are undoubtedly spending or generating, right? So, it's nice. It's just nice being confident. You know what I mean? Like, so many other schools have to worry year in and year out about, oh, what are we going to do about this, about that, about this? And when Duke doesn't get a guy, I just shrug my shoulders and go, well, there's probably another guy. Or like, or maybe this isn't even a guy that Duke wanted. Or if it was a guy that Duke wanted, there's a couple more options that they also have their eye on that they'll probably get. I mean, like, it's a real luxury, and I realize it's a privileged thing to say, but again, Duke fans don't need to be overreacting to every single tiny thing. Like, we are fine. We're in really good hands, I think, and so
we know.
Yeah, I mean, like, but I have to say, I think solely because people are going to be like, but we haven't. What about next year? What about the year after? What about? I don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now. Like, the NCAA could look totally different 2 or 3 years from now. Like, the Congress could pass laws. The NCAA could collapse. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know no matter what happens that Duke will be fine and that Duke is in really good hands. Like, that I do know. So, like, no matter what happens, frankly, with any of it, I feel that way. Like, if some staff member leaves that we love, they'll find a staff member that we will learn to love. If a player decides to leave earlier than expected, we will find a player that we will also love that will do really well for us. Like, again, it's just, people need to chill. And again, hopefully hearing a report like this from here, as people know, I'm not normally the guy who's like, Duke is always great at absolutely everything they do forever because they do no wrong and everything is perfect. That's not even what I'm saying. But, what I am saying is, like, I feel very confident, like, that these human beings who are running this are at the absolute top of the pile. Like, they are at the very, very forefront of what you need to have an elite college basketball program.
Well said. And I mean, you didn't, before we get out here, we did not address this. What did you say to Coach K?
Just very brief interaction with Coach. Just talked, again, about watching him watch the games is really cool. My buddy Dan went to K Academy in 2022, and he lost every single game. And so this year, he played his first game in Cameron and won. And played really well, and it was in front of Coach K. And so Dan wanted to go talk to Coach K and tell him that this is his first win in Cameron. And so he got the box score of his first win in Cameron and asked Coach K to sign it. And when Coach K signed it, he wrote, "It's about time," and then signed his name. He cooks. He still cooks everybody. It's real funny to watch people come up to him and talk to him because he won't let it go. Like I said at one point, because I was sitting with some people who were cheering really loudly, and a couple times Kaser like looked over his shoulder at us because like these fans were really screaming at these games. And so I said, "Hey, I was sitting with the people who are really loud. We saw you like look over," and he goes, "I wasn't looking at you." It's like if you go have an interaction with Coach K and he doesn't cook you a little bit, then like that's disappointing, right? You got.
I mean, he cooked me for my name. Said I took it from Zion Williams.
That's I said more than once. I brought up your name while there, and I keep forgetting in my mind because I always just do the podcast with you. I just would say your first name, and people would be like the Zion. Well, no, the Zion in the podcasting world. He's the Zion.
Well. Listen, I'm the positive. I'm the one in the positive light right now.
That's also true. That's also true.
You better be talking about me now.
That's also true. In terms of leaving all off court and off mic things aside. This Zion is the number one podcasting Zion in the game. That I feel very confident in.
Oh man. Well, we appreciate you, Russ, for giving us the inside scoop of K Academy. Hopefully they'll get you there next year as a player. And we could see you hoop,
That's the
man.
goal. Although I did tell everybody there, I was like, the fact that they live stream these games means that if I go,
They do?
they live stream them now. David Shumate
Oh
called
wow.
the last the semifinals and the finals. It was great.
Oh wow.
But if I am lucky enough to go and attend and actually play, I told everyone, I was like, man, the listeners to my show are gonna cook me so hard because I'm gonna miss baskets. Like, people miss baskets. The collective free throw shooting at this event is awful because like it means a lot to you, and we're not professional. Like, think about professional basketball players, right? What's the average? Maybe they might shoot like 75% from the line. These are people who
Yeah,
they
70.
spend all their time working on free throws. They work on free throws every single day in their shot. Every day they shoot thousands and thousands and thousands of free throws, and they make 75%, 70% because when you're up there, it gets in your head. It gets in your head in a big way.
Mhm.
So all of these CEOs and lawyers and hedge fund and managers and whatever, when they're out there and they're in Cameron Indoor Stadium and Coach K is sitting there and John Shire is sitting there, and you have this great opportunity and you're up at the free throw line, so many people airball free throws, dude. So many people who are good shooters airball free throws because you can tell it's between the ears, man. That's where the game is. So I have no doubt that I will have an embarrassing couple of air balls if I'm lucky enough to get to play. But again, as coach says,
Hey,
next play,
man.
man. I can't get hung up on those air
Next
balls.
play. And you miss every shot you don't take. So
That's right.
Gotta get the shots up.
And shout out again to my buddy
Well,
Dan, an absolute gem of a guy,
Happy
Dan
Dan.
Lerman, one of the great human beings, for bringing me, for thinking of me. Again, had an absolute blast watching him play. Been a privilege to be his friend for all these years. So thanks, Dan.
Hey, shout out to Dan, man, and any coach K Academy goers. If you want to throw some funds, throw the Crazie Cast. Sponsor the Crazie guys. We're here too. Y'all are big ballers out there at K Academy. So those.
That's right. I was out there. I was out there spreading the love, man. I was like, hey, we got the show. But I really can't tell you how many people. There were multiple people who like said they saw me, and like within 2 seconds they were like, that's him.
Oh man. But yeah, we appreciate y'all for tuning in this episode. Like I said, it's the first of 2 episodes this week. Big episode coming up this week. Won't spoil it, but it's a big guest. It's a very big guest. Like we don't tease small guests, so it's a big guest. So be excited for that. That won't be live. That will be pre-recorded, but we appreciate y'all for tuning in.